Well, and if you didn't know it before, you're listening to Radio North Sea International. My name is Andy Archer on the morning show, right up until 12 o'clock. The other disc jockeys out here are German disc jockey Horst Reiner, Roger Day, our chief announcer, Alan West and Carl Mitchell. We broadcast from a ship called the Mebo 2, which is anchored 5 miles off the coast of Scheveningen in Holland.
That ship is the Mebo 2, better known as Radio North Sea International. She's moored some 9 miles off the Dutch coast, and since last Saturday has been transmitting regular pop pirate broadcasts in English and German. The company that runs her is Swiss, and the ship itself is serviced from Holland, so there's no direct connection with the British Isles.
But the British Ministry of Posts and Telecommunications sees the ship as an attempt to beat the legislation which put the other pirates off the air 2 years ago. The Council of Europe agreement made at that time can stop contact with pirate stations from countries who've ratified the agreement. Holland hasn't and doesn't plan to just yet. Much of the North Sea radio advertising is expected to come from Japan, and Britain could find that difficult to stop.
Broadcasting 5 miles off the coast of Holland from the motor vessel Mebo 2. This is the sound of Europe on 186 metres, Radio North Sea International. Music 19 hours a day, especially for you. Right now, though, I'd like to say hello to Mrs. Gloria Swallow up there in Ipswich in Suffolk. Very nice to hear from you.
So far, most of the advertising space is being given away, but on the Mebo 2, they're confident that this won't be so for long. Broadcasts are in English and German, and 4 of the disc jockeys are British. Under the 1967 Marine Offences Act, they could be imprisoned for 3 months on return to Britain. I asked Roger Day and Andy Archer why they joined the ship.
Well, basically because I'm a disc jockey, and on top of that, because I want to work for a free radio station and not an establishment one.
What about you, Ron?
Well, I joined a station because I believe in their causes and I want to work for a commercial radio station. I believe working here will bring commercial radio in Europe, eventually.
But by working here, if you went back to Britain, you would stand to get 3 months imprisonment and or a £200 fine. Does this not worry you?
No, not at all. You don't get anywhere in this life if you don't take a risk or a gamble.
By pop pirate standards, Radio North Sea is luxurious. The backers claim to have spent £500,000 on setting up the station. It's managed by 2 electronic engineers from Switzerland, a country which hasn't ratified the Strasbourg Agreement either. They feel there's enough business from countries not involved in international agreements to keep them on the air, and they're ready to fight the British government in the courts if it tries to stop them. Radio North Sea expects to be in business for some time and hopes to induce the start of commercial radio in Britain. 3 miles away in the North Sea is a Dutch radio pirate. Since it started broadcasting several years ago, Dutch radio has brought in commercials. Jeffrey Archer, News at 10, off the Dutch coast.
Hier ist Radio Nordsee International. Auf der Mittelwelle 186 Meter gleich 1605 Kilohertz, auf der Kurzwelle 49 Meter Europaband gleich 6,21 Megahertz und auf UKW gleich 102 Megahertz.
This is Radio North Sea International on the 49-metre shortwave band, 6.20 megacycles. We operate also on the medium wave, 186 metres, 1,607 megacycles.
This is piracy on the high seas. These people are actually stealing a scarce radio frequency, and by doing that, they're interfering with channels which are reserved for shipping and lifeboats and so on. It's a very serious position. I want to make quite clear we are not concerned about censorship. We're concerned about theft. We have a responsibility to the international community as well as to ourselves to ensure that this is stopped, and we intend to stop it.
How would you go about stopping them as they're outside territorial waters?
Well, as you probably know, we have now international agreement through the Council of Europe, which ensures that European countries will cooperate in denying supplies to anybody involved in this sort of business. And in time, we're satisfied that they will be denied supplies, and this will bring it to an end.
This is Roger Day with you on Radio North Sea International. I have my German colleague in Studio 2.
Ich habe ein klein wenig Schwierigkeiten hier im Studio 2, aber das legt sich alles noch irgendwie. Auf alle Fälle, liebe Hörerinnen und Hörer, Sie hören hier die 8 Besten von Radio Nordsee International. Hitbound Sound, Radio Nordsee International.
Radio North Sea International. Und nun die genaue Zeit von Boulevard. Es ist 22 Uhr. Boulevard, der Erfinder von Akkutron, der elektronischen Stimmgabeluhr.
On the air from 5:30 a.m. to 2 a.m., this is Radio Nordsee International.
And now the right time from Boulevard is exactly 5 o'clock. Boulevard, who invented Accutron, the electronic tuning fork watch.
Radio 220.
Just exactly what trouble are these people causing to you?
Well, as you see, this is the frequency we work on now to try to get to the lightships, Fortunity House, to collect their Met reports and normal routine traffic. And at the moment now it's 15:45, but I've got to go through and get the Met reports from the Galloper light vessel and from the ship watch.
Just let me interrupt a second. It means that you can't contact your light vessel.
Well, up to now we have a great difficulty. We haven't been successful with it today yet.
Kind of cross-telephone, though.
That's it. You know, there's lights seem to be drowned out by this pop music.
Is it causing you real trouble?
Well, the only trouble so far as this, we can't get to the light vessels.
And if they want to contact you?
When they could go through onto another frequency, onto a distress frequency, which they're not allowed to do for a normal routine message.
If you wanted to call your Met people, does this present problems to you?
Well, this does present problems, as I said, but I'm doing this now, it's you to do this, go through. Oh, Galloper light vessel, Walton Coast Guard, ready for your Met. Over.
So despite the interference, despite the claims of potential danger, despite the government's act outlawing them, and despite the minister's warning last night, Nebo 2 remains anchored just outside British territorial waters and continues to broadcast happily. With European agreements confused the way they are, there's very little that anyone can do about it. And if the British government intends to starve them out by prosecuting anyone sending supplies to the ship, they may have to wait some time because the ship is well stocked up. And apparently the crew are confident that if they offer the right kind of money, some source of supply can easily be found.
Radio North Sea International apologizes to our listeners for the interference heard on our transmission. This illegal jamming is directed from the Labour government and organized by the Post Office. This action is meant to discourage us from providing you with our normal service. However, RNI shall make every effort to continue programs as usual. This is Radio North Sea International.
If it all goes ahead, it'll be the biggest change in radio broadcasting in this country for half a century. Because ever since the BBC began those early transmissions in 1922, there's been a very strong tradition of radio without advertisements. So why now the change? And with 4 BBC radio channels and with BBC local radio as well, why do we need a local commercial radio system?
Because there is in the view of many of us a good deal to be said for competition. It could equally, of course, have been said that we've got BBC television, so what did we want commercial television for? But over the years, I think the majority of people have come to believe that there is real value in having more than one source of programmes, more than one source of employment for people who work in television. And in particular, I think that it's important that there should be alternative sources of news and current affairs. And all those arguments, which are strong in my view in television, are just as strong in radio.
Radio London 206, Radio London 206, Radio London 206. ON 26194.8 in stereo.
And as usual, there are no problems on buses, trains or planes.
Independent Radio News, it's 3 minutes past 12.
Capital 194.
Transmitting off the coast of Europe with synchronized transmissions at 220 meters, 1367 kilohertz in the medium wave band, in FM at channel 44, 100 megahertz, and on shortwave at 6,205 kilohertz in the 49-meter European band. This is Radio North Sea International. Radio North Sea International is music on your dial, 20 hours per day.
Dit is Radio Noordzee, met een proefuitzending op 220 meter middengolf. U kunt ons ook beluisteren op 49 meter korte golf of via de FM-band kanaal 44. Dat wil zeggen 100 megahertz. Ons adres is Radio Noordzee, postbus 117, Hilversum.
No, I don't think so. They will have to compete, principally, of course, with Radio 1 and Radio 2, because that is where most of the radio audience is at the moment. But I'm sure, too, that they will generate some new listeners. The Pirates, in fact, added about 25% to the listening audience while they were going. But they will have to be fairly comprehensive in their appeal if they're going to get a big audience. They're not just going to go for teenagers. And in addition, they will be expected to carry a good service of local information and local news, as well as the normal service of national and international news.
Well, yes, you make great stress on this in the white paper, that you want the things to be locally based, you want them to have a good news service and so on. You talk in the white paper about fostering greater public awareness of local affairs. If a company doesn't do this, will the IBA take the contract away from them?
Yes, I mean, this will be, they will be required to fulfill a role in the community, and if they don't do that, then the authority would take steps to make them do it, or they'd have to give it up.
For instance, if someone tried to put out the sort of programs which were being put out by the pirate radios, they would have the contract taken away.
Well, if it were as narrow in its appeal as that, almost certainly, because they will be required, and indeed, I'm quite sure that they will have a natural incentive to go for a broader appeal program than those.
This is Manx Radio in Douglas.
The sounds of the 70s are yours today, right here on Manx Radio with Don Allen.
Ladies and gentlemen, the Don Allen Radio Show. And now, here's Don.
We believe that it should be comprehensive broadcasting with plenty of emphasis on news, and especially local news, because this is what it's all about. So don't label us with the pop bit. We go for popular entertainment, certainly. We want it. And after all, I think it's far easier to criticize when you haven't heard something. Why don't you wait? Let's try something new. I mean, we're trying in this country to build the Concorde, which is a great new thing, a great new idea. Let's have something new. It's very stimulating.
The pressure for a local radio station to want to put out a maximum amount of pop will be very great. After all, they will be in business to sell advertising space on their particular program. And clearly the way in which they believe in which they will be able to sell the greatest amount of space will be by putting out continuous pop. In an odd sort of way, we've now got to the stage, because of this decision of the government, that to maintain broadcasting standards in local radio may in the end depend more upon the musicians' union and their attitude on the amount of needle time they're prepared to concede to the new local radio stations than it will do upon central government decisions. I think this is very bad.
Radio London 206, Radio London 206. Always.
On fire. SOS, Mayday, 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 SOS. This is an SOS call from Radio North Sea International. Once again we have trouble. Somebody's bombed us this time. 4 miles from the coast of Scheveningen. The radio ship Mebo 2 is on fire. We need help immediately. We need help immediately.
Mayday, Mayday, this is the radio ship Mebo 2, 4 miles off the coast of Scheveningen in Holland. Mayday, Mayday, this is an SOS from the radio ship Mebo 2. We require assistance urgently due to a fire on board this vessel at the present time caused by a bomb being thrown into our engine room. There is a fire on board in the engine room of this ship, and we require assistance urgently.
Dave Rogers, what was your experience at the moment of the throwing of the obstacle?
Well, I was in one of the studios downstairs, and we heard this bang. It sounded like a ship running into us. So I went upstairs and had a quick look around. I couldn't see any ship. Went up to the bridge, saw the smoke, then I heard an outboard motor. I looked over the side of the ship and I saw this small boat going away into the distance. And that's what happened.
The fire was very intense. It was, we know it was a bomb, but it was obviously a bomb. It was so intense. It went straight down to the engine room.
You haven't seen the ship that left?
I didn't see it when I was on the air.
Radio North Sea International.
Though no one was seriously hurt, the fire gutted the super and completely destroyed the bridge. There's now no means of controlling the ship, and even the ship's lifeboat was damaged. One of the joint owners, Erwin Meister, flew from Geneva this morning to check the damage. He reckons it will cost £20,000 to put it right. Fortunately, only 2 cabins were destroyed. At the other end of the ship, including those of the 6 or 7 Dutch and English DJs. One of them, Crispin St. John, described what happened last night.
I suddenly heard a bang, and it's louder than our usual bang when the tender hits the side of the boat. And also at that time of night, you don't expect a tender to arrive, especially on the sea when it's foggy. So my first reaction with the other members of the crew was to rush straight up on deck of the ship and look round. Well, I looked round this end of the boat, the front end, and didn't see anything. Apparently other members from at the back saw a boat rushing away, a small motorboat apparently, and they said this, and then suddenly there's a shout saying the engine room was on fire, and of course we just waited to see what was going to happen. The captain, after about a few minutes, notified and said we had to put out a mayday call, which was done over the medium wave, shortwave and FM transmitters of the station. You know, it's very hectic. You know, I don't remember it absolutely too clearly. I'm just about remembering now, you know, exactly what went on, because it's very shocked, I think, you know.
There can't be many DJs who've had to abandon their stations and go and sit in the rubber dinghy.
Well, thankfully, no.
What was it like, in fact? Were you particularly worried when you got off?
Well, we could see the fire and it was just glowing red. It was the best thing to do. There's no other choice. I was a bit worried, I suppose, but I didn't realise it at the time.
The last time a DJ here was when a boarding party, allegedly from the nearby pirate ship Veronica, tried to tow their ship away. The Veronica, the veteran pop pirate ship of Europe, has a transmitter of only 8 kilowatts, compared with this ship's one of 60 kilowatts. And last March, the Veronica's owners tried unsuccessfully to get a Rotterdam court to order Mebo 2 to stop broadcasting. But the DJs here are still cheerful, and last night's fire hasn't stopped their programs. Nor will it, for this pirate radio ship won't be putting into port for repairs. They'll all be done at sea, safely outside Dutch territorial waters. Desmond Hamill, ITN, off the Dutch coast.
RNI, it's a merry-go-round.
Broadcasting from the radio ship Mebo 2, lying at anchor 4 miles from the coast of Europe with transmissions in medium wave 220 meters, 1367 kilohertz. In shortwave 6205 kilohertz in the 49 meter European band, and in FM channel 44 100 megahertz. This is Radio North Sea International. RNI is music on your dial 21 hours per day.
Goedemiddag heren. Mogen wij even aan boord komen? We hadden maar 1 vraag te stellen. Waarom er van Veronica uit geen assistentie is verleend tijdens de brand van Radio Noordzee. Wist je daar niks van? Hebt u het SOS niet opgevangen?
Ja, maar toen waren ze er al af.
Waren ze er al bij?
Waren die mensen er al af?
Maar die heeft de brand toch ook moeten zien?
Nee, die zagen wij niet.
Naderop wel, maar in het begin niet. Was wist.
Der alte Maschinenraum hat explodiert und hat angefangen zu brennen und das Feuer ist angestiegen bis in die Brücke. Ich bin jetzt gezwungen auszuschalten, weil sehr starker Rauch ist, überall auf dem Schiff. Die Leute sind sicher in der Rettungsboot. Bye bye.
Hebt u het geld aan de heer Jurgens gegeven?
Ja.
Hoeveel in totaal?
Als ik me niet vergis is dat een totaal geweest van 10.000 of 12.000 gulden ongeveer. In die orde van grootte.
En de mensen die het zouden doen, krijgen die geld?
Er was afgesproken, als dit schip binnen zou komen, zonder dat, zoals ik u gezegd heb, onder die en die voorwaarden, dat daar
Wilt u die voorwaarden nog een keer noemen?
Nou, dat er absoluut niet enig risico mag zijn voor mensenlevens.